conference was about a smart system that someone, and I forget the name of the company or the person, but and they had talked. They gave an example of typical outage recovery time, in a traditional system where you have to, go out and physically look for which fuse blew, versus having a smart meter system that can tell you which fuse blew. And I don't know if you guys have access to that PowerPoint or whatever that he put out there, but it's
a lot of intrinsic or other benefits that it's hard to measure. It's more quality of life or empowering customers.
And I guess the point of his presentation was that I guess the Livermore Labs did a study of the cost to the customer, which has been the first time, I guess, that municipals typically haven't had this information, but they did some survey of what's it cost somebody to have their power out in terms of,
That's interesting.
their lost, their expenses. And so then what he had, so he put the numbers in there, so he's had a chart, but he kind of compared how the typical outage, you get a call, something's out, and then the linemen have to go out and find, okay, which fuse blew, isolate that, and then can you redistribute the load? Because it could be that there's only a few branches of the system that are actually out, but you had the fuse tripped upstream, and does that make sense what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That, and then there's the analysis that has to happen of, hey, can we turn on these other customers that don't have the tree down, and can we handle that load there? And so he put together, not only does the problem get identified faster and you can send the crew right to the spot and fix it, but the typical people that have to be out for half the outage don't have to be out at all, because the system will just automatically reroute power to them if the system handles it. So that would be another good thing to show the cost model for that too, because especially as a municipal, I mean, we're trying to service the customers being the community, and showing them that, hey, from next time there's an outage, rather than it being 1 hour, it's going to be 15 minutes, or, well, not really. I don't think you guys could work that fast, but, in terms of, the benefit of how when there's an outage, some people are going to be right back on soon because they're not affected by that branch. And maybe our system's not designed that way. I don't know.
And that's not a function of the meter, and that happens quite often in different parts of the Lowell and in the townships where numerous fuses will blow because it started to cascade on the system, and we can see where the fault is, so we can go ahead and isolate them, get them back on, and then work on the damaged area. But that wouldn't be a function of the meter. That would be a function of our infrastructure that we can do. And we our system's not all that large, so we can see how that works. Now there's some things that you can't control though, depending on a car hits a pole and you just can't do anything like that. I mean, one example is we put in dead ends on a pole because a truck hit a pole in an area that they could probably do it where they're at a dump site. So we put dead ends on there, and we could say, okay, we're going to isolate this and turn everybody back on past this point or before this point. Turns out it happened again, and they hit the pole just before that dead end instead of after it. So you can't put dead ends on every pole.
Right. So is the system one? So maybe I'm confusing systems from the one I saw in the presentation. Maybe this is something a little different in terms of having the ability to turn remotely, open and close fuses.
No, that is our SCADA system.
That would be SCADA.
And we're not. That'll be our SCADA will be able to do that, but it'll be capable of doing that. We're going to disable that portion of it because this will be new to us, and we don't want to have any mistakes and somebody inadvertently hitting a button on a computer and tripping breakers. So, we're going to give us time to get used to this system as far as monitoring, and then we're going to be able to control things remotely.
Okay.
At the substations.
So that's part of Plan B or C.
Yep. Okay. It sounds like I got ahead of ourselves there.
No, that's all right. Good questions.
But I do think of that, at least the return on investment part would be a good thing to show the public and the board for that matter. But just this is why we're doing it. It's not just to make it newer. It's a real thing.
Okay.
And then the other thing I wanted to comment on is that chart on page 11 was really nice. I've talked before about the good graphics and how things help, and the fact that you combined the bar chart with the yearly cost and then the total cumulative cost at the same time, I thought was a very clever thing.
probably dream about that tonight, won't you? You'll dream about that tonight, won't you?
We know how much you like trucks.
Just for you.
That's good.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
He's trying to get your vote.
Well,
Where are we at?
It's a good informative chart.
Consensus?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good with.
With Eaton Cooper?
Yep.
Most
Yep.
definitely, yeah.
So I think you got consensus from us to move forward with Eaton Cooper.
Okay,
4 for 4.
sounds good. Thank
Thanks
you.
for your hard work.
You're welcome.
Good. All right, moving on. Adopt a Road, thanks to all that participated in the Adopt a Road cleanup this month. Tom showed up early and had most of it completed before anybody else got there, so thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work. Open
Next time,
house,
Schedule it earlier, but don't tell him.
that's right.
Very nice.
Open house, great food, great people, great day. What else can you say? Thanks to everybody that helped. Thanks, Greg, for another year of fantastic dog cooking, and Sharon for all the running around and getting everything set up. So I think everybody enjoys it. They look forward to it, and it was a great day. I mean, it was a perfect fall day to have
A lot of dogs went down the road.
Yep.
I didn't.
All right, one other thing that's not on the list here. When I figured out what I did when I left item F in there. There was another one last month after that that talked about the St. Mary's property. That's what I intended to leave in and add on to, so just touch on that for a minute. We have got some additional information on that process. We have some estimates on what it would take to repair the roof, and all the way from fixing the roof that's there currently to putting a whole new roof on. And I think the cost ranges, Tom, if you correct me if I'm wrong, because I misplaced my numbers here, but somewhere between 40 and 85,000, something like that, to either repair or replace the roof. So that's one item. The other item was, as we talked about before, the HVAC system. And again, we've gotten a couple of bids on that, and the extreme is even more with those bids. We have a bid of around 55,000, another bid of about 280,000. So we expect that it's probably someplace in between. The low bid, we know, doesn't include any of the electrical work that goes along with installation of the HVAC system, so I'm sure that will add to it. I'm guessing it'll be somewhere in the 120 range. Greg, is that?
Yeah, I think so. But the contractor that has the lower bid did the work at Chatham Street Warehouse
Right.
for us, and that turned out
It
well.
turned
They
out
did a
very well.
good job.
And again, they were significantly under the other bids, so I'm not at all hesitant to use that contractor. So probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 to 200,000 to get those things up to date on the building. And I'm guessing another 50 to 75,000 for cosmetic stuff inside to get it workable for us. So I think it's something that we can continue to move forward with. And again, we're just looking for consensus to put more time into it and pursue that and get pricing and maybe work up an offer and those types of things. So just wanted to give you an update and.
Are those the original windows in that building yet?
No, they're not.
They've been replaced.
They've
They're
been
double
replaced,
panes?
yeah.
Okay. It's got terrazzo floors in most of it, doesn't it?
Right, it does
So, I
have
mean,
terrazzo floors.
Interior costs probably wouldn't be significant then. Painting, maybe?
Painting and, we'd have to do some upgrade on furniture to put, cubicle type partition.
Right. Maybe some ADA bathrooms might be something, I'm not sure.
Right. And we do something with that entry area where customers would come in and make payments and that type of thing. We'd probably take part of that wall out and put a glass protecting area in there, which we really talked about for years to do downstairs in terms of being safe. Put bulletproof plexiglass and that kind of stuff in because of the kind of payments we're taking and the amount of money that's handled here. And so that's something we would do at that facility. Just the way it's laid out would be much more, a much better opportunity for doing that at this point. So again, we'll keep moving forward if none of those numbers scare anybody, so. Okay.
Go for it.
All right, that takes us to payables.
I have one other fun fact.
One other fun fact.
It's not
And
Friday
I
yet.
just decided to do this today. I keep track of Light and Power versus Consumers Energy
Oh, yeah.
and actual rate structure. I go to the Michigan Public Service Commission, get their rate structure, all their line items, and I can just every month type in a kilowatt hour usage. It'll tell me what they would have been billed at consumers, low line power. The average resident, and I say average, I took the average kilowatt hour usage by a resident for the last 12 months. Saved $161.51 by having low line power, and that's $368,565 savings to residents. So, I mean, $368,000 is a lot of money. So over a 10-year period, you're talking, I mean, if you project that $3.5 to $4 million stays in this community, just with residents, and that's not businesses, which use the majority of the power. So, just thought I'd leave you with something fun.
Fun fact.
I'll
That's a
dream about
great
that.
fun
then.
fact to put on Facebook.
That's what I'm putting on tomorrow. All right. Fun
There
Fact
you
Friday,
go.
it's going on tomorrow?
Yeah.
Is there a way to compare what the businesses?
There is. It's very tricky. The rate structure is very complicated.
Yeah.
I've gotten rate 221 and 222. Still trying to work on 223 and 224, which are the 6 industrials,
Okay.
because there's all sorts of power factor and, I mean,
Yeah.
it's very tricky.
I figured it would be more complicated, but that'd be a nice number to have.
So
Just
everybody but 6 of our customers, I can give a comparison.
so that'd be a good economic, thing for the city to tout as well as.
Right. Anyway, thank you, guys.
Good, thank you.
Thank you for all your work, Steve.
Welcome.
All right, schedule of meetings is in your packet. I don't think there's any surprises there for anybody. And then complaint register, no new complaints. Going on, what, a year now?
Getting
15
close to a
months?
year, yep.
Congratulations to staff on that. That brings us to board comment. Tamala?
I just wanted to say great job on the audit, and I don't know if anybody caught this, but on page 3, under the financial highlights, it states that our write-offs were down over 2,700, a 36.4% improvement from the previous fiscal year. And to quote the auditor, it says performing an outstanding 61.1% better than comparable utilities of our size. I thought that was pretty amazing. I know you guys have done a lot of work to, to make sure that we're not doing, continuing to get high write-offs, and I think that's really good. So I just want to compliment Steve and the whole staff on that. I also wanted to thank Tom for being very responsive to a request by the Arbor Board this past month. There was a lot between our substation on Bowes Road behind Walgreens. Because of some construction going on behind there was a request from the Arbor Board that we kind of clean up the area, and Tom responded very quickly to get it all taken care of, and even made the extra effort to call me back and tell me what was going on with it, since I sit on the Arbor Board. So I just wanted to thank him for that extra effort, and it was mentioned Monday at the Arbor Board meeting that everybody really appreciated the responsiveness of the staff here to take care of that.
Thank you.
That's it. All right, Andrew?
Well, I guess, first I just wanted to kind of pay tribute to the empty chair over there. I'm still kind of like getting used to the fact that neither Jim nor Bev is around anymore. They've always been here, it seemed like. And all of a sudden, I remember when I kind of referred to them when I left the council, as I said they were one of the, I called them Lowell's cutest couple, because I thought they were. And it's hard to believe they're gone now. And one thing I've always liked about Jim is that he seemed to be at every meeting, of every board, whether he was on the board or not. I mean, he was on half the boards, it seemed like, but he was, like I said, he was our audience, and most nights are like this, and usually there's him sitting there. What I really appreciated from Jim was that he had a very clear vision of Lowell and a very fluid one. It's not often you see that with people that have a clear vision. Often it's their vision, and his was fluid enough that it would adapt to other people's contributions. And I just thought that was such a natural sort of approach, kind of like just like a river, or like our rivers, that clear and fluid is kind of how you want them to be. And that's, he had such strong opinions on how things should be, but if someone came in with an idea, he would accept it. And he fully recognized a lot of his ideas weren't going to happen, and he was okay with that. I just thought that was such a great attitude to bring, and as someone who was on so many boards and participating in so much around the community, in terms of the governance of it, that it was really awesome, I think, just to have that type of attitude. And it's also just sort of hard to, it's kind of hard to imagine Lowell without Jim, at least for me. He's been around so long, and I've always kind of like relied on him to provide all the good stories from before I was here, of how Lowell used to be and things like that many of you guys do know, but I didn't know as, obviously, but it was nice. It's really kind of hard to imagine Lowell without him in it, but then as I kind of thought about that statement that was running through my head like that, it kind of realized, well, it's kind of hard to envision Lowell that doesn't have something, some aspect of it that was either inspired by Jim or something Jim inspired Lowell to have. And so in that regard, I guess it's always going to, whatever the vision of Lowell is in the future, it's always going to have him in it. So I guess in that sense, he's around. I don't know, I guess I don't want to ramble too much about it, but I really appreciate everything that he had done. And, ever since I've been involved in the city government, he's always been there wherever I've been. It seems like he's been on the Parks Board, he's the Planning Commission, the council, and it's going to be weird going to meetings and not having him there all the time. And he's such a funny guy too, as I'm sure you guys know. I'm going to miss a lot of those comments. The other thing I wanted to mention for my comments was attending the MMEA conference. I guess I talked a bit about the two sessions I attended. Those were very nice. It was a much smaller conference than I thought, just because I'm used to the MML, the Municipal League, where there's 200 plus cities, and it's a bigger event, but it was really good just to see again, what goes on. And the two I went to were, like I said, there was a smart meter and a smart system, I guess you could, or the dance. and the financial one was also very interesting, and I hope to go to more of these, because I meant to go to 4 sessions and I couldn't due to babysitting, or when they say when it's your own kids, it's not babysitting, it's parenting. But yeah, those were very informative, and I was glad to have attended those. And I guess that's all I've got for this time. Yep.
Thank you.
Perry. Well, yes, and I'm looking at notes as we kind of jot down things we want to talk about maybe as the meeting, and Greg and I have got some of the same notes. And yeah, we'll miss Jim. Jim was on the, served on this board. I served on the trails with him, on the parks. He's been on, I think, every commission, every group at one time in his life here in Lowell, and we'll miss him. I'm going to take this November 3rd is an election for our city council, and I believe it's probably one of the most important elections that the city has seen in several decades. There are clear choices that are on that. Jim was on that, and if he still gets, there's 3 open seats, and if he gets enough votes, then the city council would have to appoint somebody to take his place. I think I'm very proud of Lowell Light and Power and the board members that are on the board now, and the direction that we're taking Lowell Light and Power. Certainly, hindsight, there are some decisions I might make differently now that you have hindsight, such as decommissioning the generators here in our facility. Would have done that sooner if I knew EPA and the different requirements they were going to continue to put on. So yeah, there's always, I think, things that we would do differently once we have hindsight. Again, I'm very proud of the direction that this board and this company is going. If you go back and we saw the audits today, you can look at those. You can look at back previous management. Low Light and Power was going in a different direction. And I think it's now on the right steps moving forward. I know that in a recent Meet the Candidates, Alan Thielander had said that if voted in, his first agenda would be to terminate the city manager. The second agenda on his agenda would be to replace the board of Low Light and Power. And again, this election is going to be so important that it's every voter needs to get out and vote. And if that's the direction that the people want to go, then I can live with that. But there's a group, it's basically pitted 3 people against another 3 people. The Voice group is endorsing 3, and I personally think it's the wrong direction. Maybe this is not the place to do that, but I am very proud of the direction that Lowell Light and Power has gone. This board, with a couple previous members, hired Greg, and that is, I can't say enough good things in the direction that we have gone. And it was affirmed tonight with the auditor. Greg has hired Steve, again, being a Hope College graduate and being a Hope, I get that plug in there. You've done so many things that we were not capable of doing before. And again, that's the direction that we're moving Lowell Light and Power. We're not having to hire outside services for that. We're not hiring outside services to trim trees. We're still 99.98% availability. Our costs are still lower than DTE, than Consumers Power, but our infrastructure is moving forward. And I just can't say, I'm beating a horse up, but this election is going to be very important. And I'm very proud of what Lowell Light and Power and the board and the direction that Lowell Light and Power is going. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks.
Stole your thunder, didn't you? I'm gonna start covering my notes up so he can't see what I write down.
Actually, Barry, that was terrific, and what you said is very accurate, and I appreciate it.
And let me say one thing. I'm sorry, I got to get this plug
All
in. Our website, we are currently working on some things, on a whole major list of things that Lowell Light and Power has accomplished in the last 6-7 years, and you will be able to, in the very near future, you'll be able to see that list on our website. Now, I won't say anything more.
Well, it's okay if you do, because I really appreciate everything that you have said. And again, the tribute to Jim Hall goes without saying. We had a little time at the last city council meeting to remember Jim in our own ways, and I did say that he was a crusty old goat with a heart of gold. And I guess because we can laugh, we know that, and we know it to be true. He and Bev were both significant parts of this community in many, many different ways, and unique couple that I had heard a lot about when we first moved here as they were in California, and then we had the chance to meet them, and it was all true. Moving on, though, his replacement will be selected at our next council meeting on October 19th. various people that are interested in serving the one meeting seat. Their applications were due by noon today, and we'll be assessing those and making a choice on Monday night. Again, the election is November 3rd, and we'll look forward to whatever the community feels, but indeed exercise your right to vote. And if you'd like my opinion on it, you're welcome to call me. Streets projects, we've got many of them wrapping up before the snow flies. There was the major project over on the east end with Washington, Jefferson, and Jackson streets, as well as that little piece of Avery. So those are all set and ready for winter. And next year we also have a streets plan that takes us out at 5 years for various projects around the community. Grove and High Street, and also very North Washington up by the cemetery, we've got some attention also. Justin Amash, our congressman, has visited our community on 2 different occasions. He had a town hall meeting a couple of weeks ago, as well as addressing the Rotary Club yesterday. And it's always good to hear what's going on in Washington and to hear what our congressman has to say. So we thank Justin for attending, giving Lowell some attention, and I think he recognizes that we're a viable community. And anyway, it was good to see him. And the MMEA conference I thought was terrific. It also helped I attended a couple of sessions as well as a dinner, and it's always good to know that your community is ahead of the curve. And boy, we are. And in the electric business, that's terrific, and everything that's being done here, and we really appreciate. And finally, the community cleanup. It's more than just a city cleanup, but the community. It's one of those things that the Greater Lowell Alliance has pulled together as a project. Monthly, the 2 townships, Virgins and Lowell Township, as well as the city, the Chamber of Commerce, and the school district get together to talk about things that we need to talk about, and make sure that we keep everyone up to date, and that we are working with each other on a very friendly basis. And it's provided good things for our community, but in doing so, you always need to do something. You need to all get dirty together. And so the cleanup day will be October 24th down at the fairgrounds, and Lowell Light and Power's taking part in that as well. So thank you for that part, and we'll look forward to working with our friends from the townships on that particular project. So again, vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
All right. Again, I'd like to acknowledge Jim's contribution to the community. Andrew, you said a lot of things real well and eloquently, but Jim was a great guy. Jim and Bev both just had wishes for no ceremonies, but I felt that they did so much for the community. I talked to his children, and we're going to try to have a little memorial gathering for him, possibly on November 27th on a Tuesday night, or maybe a week later than that, but there'll probably be something in the paper and notices about that. But we just have to get together and remember Jim and Bev for what they did for us. Congratulations, Steve, on the amazing audit, how well you do with things here. To hear those high compliments from our auditor is just really impressive. And the decisions that the board made, that the staff of Lowell Light and Power brought to us to lock in rates last winter, and allowed us to lower our costs on electricity. And you guys are just doing a great job here. And like Perry said, the last 7-8 years you've really been on a roll here, and it's great to be part of that. And I hope that the voters recognize that and place their votes carefully. And other than that, that wraps it up for me. So would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I don't know why, in my old age, I guess the damn most